100 kids have died. So now it's risk and benefit here, or benefit, and risk, and that is that
right. And I think that's very true. And I'm not saying don't get this. I think that the nasal I think has inherent higher safety, and also you look at the just reported by CBS over-reporting of the swine flu 20-fold. They're saying likely swine flu. They're finding that about 3% of those cases are really swine flu. I mean, certainly it's a risk not to get it, but I'm saying the risk of getting the vaccination, I think, is unknown, and it's the safety profile is over-reported.
Now, there are two different schools of thought on this. One is that it's over-reported and over-hyped. Now, the president declared this, state of emergency over the weekend. Others are claiming, and other doctors that I have spoken to said it's actually being under-reported because they don't want to create fear and panic in the public. But meanwhile, the outbreaks around the country are quite significant, and most people aren't even aware of it.
No, actually, when they sent the samples to the CDC that were called likely to be swine flu, between 1% and 7% of those were actually swine flu.
Yeah, but then the point is that what they're saying is they're not testing it. In other words, they're not people come in, they have flu symptoms, they're treating it with Tamiflu, but they're not actually testing the culture.
Those are the ones that were sent to the CDC.
The epidemic of flu has been seen spreading across the U.S. It started probably a couple months ago in the southeast. It spread to Texas. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, at Cook Children's Medical Center. We had more kids in the emergency room 2-3 weeks ago than we have ever had at one point in time, and we have a very busy emergency room.
And this is all swine flu?
It is, and we do the PCR testing to confirm it, and it was H1N1 influenza. At one point, we had 4 children on ECMO support in the ICU. There is a real epidemic. It is not made up. And
when we look at the data, which is reported again by CBS and Barbara Fisher National Vaccine Information Center, where they sent the cases, they said all the cases of likely swine flu, and different states, there were 7 states, and between 1% and 7% of those cases that were likely swine flu came out to actually be swine flu with the most sophisticated testing. And actually only 20% or less of the cases to be likely flu were even influenza, but turned out to be other viruses, whether it's rhinovirus or other flu-like causing viruses. So you're certainly going to get more people in the emergency room because everyone, a heightened alert. And I'm not saying this is,
Well, hang on a second. But Dr. Murphy is saying this was specifically tested for swine flu, and he's saying it's an epidemic.
There are some other viruses around, but there is an epidemic of H1N1 influenza that is spreading across the U.S., and it's hitting different communities at different times. And when it gets to your community, you will know it very well.
Well, let me ask, I guess the question comes down to this. And, for example, I guess, Dr. Holtorf, you would not give this to your kids. Dr. Murphy, you would. True?
That's true.
That is true. I would definitely not give, especially the thimerosal-containing vaccine, I would not give the non-thimerosal-containing vaccine, although if I were to give it, I would give the nasal, consider giving the nasal, although I wouldn't do that at this point.
Do you see a difference, Dr. Murphy?
Luckily, a lot of what we have available right now, it just happened that the nasal H1N1 vaccine is the one that was produced in the most quantity and is most available right now. So the H1N1 vaccine is getting shipped out right now. There's not a lot of it, but a lot of what we have is the live attenuated intranasal vaccine, LAIV or flu mist, and it does not contain thimerosal. And it is safe and it is effective.
But the shot, the shot does contain that. What is the danger, Dr. Murphy?
There's 2 forms of the shot. One is 10-dose vials, which is the way we normally package flu vaccine, because normally we ship a bunch and give a bunch all at the same time, and it's more efficient in a 10-dose vial. So those 10-dose vials have a little bit of thimerosal. The other way that it's being packaged now is single-dose syringes to give flu shots, and those do not contain thimerosal.
Now, if somebody has a reaction to the flu shot, Dr. Murphy, because you support people getting it, when is their reaction going to take place? Within 24 hours or?
Within a day, usually, yes.
And what would the symptoms be?
Now, for the flu mist in the nose, you can have congestion, you can have a little drainage in your nose, you can have some fever, you can feel achy. And that may be within about 2 days. For the flu shot, it's usually soreness in your arm where you get the shot and some fever and feeling achy.
And that's within 2 days also?
That's within about a day.
Within about a day.
And it may last for a day.
All right, now what does it say that we have this shortage of, flu vaccine? Because if they're talking December, by that time, probably the country, most people that were going to get it are going to get it by then.
Probably not. We have seen the H1N1 come up in Mexico last winter, last spring. We found out about it late in the spring. We had a little spike of activity in the U.S. Early in the summer. It died down. Kids got out of school. Weather warmed up. The H1N1 died down. Kids got back in school in the fall. Things cooled off, and now we have a new epidemic. And I can say locally here that's calming back down. And people have said, well, is the vaccine too late? Do we still need it? But if you look back in history, new flu strains like this often will come back again, and it's unpredictable. Will they be, mild when they come back? Will they be more severe?
All right.
So I think now is the time where we have the means to.
Well, if it's not going to be out till December, I mean, that probably is very frustrating to people that actually want it. All right, they don't even have shots for the president and the first lady. I mean, it's absurd to me, especially because they knew back in the spring, but that's a separate issue. All right, one last question. Dr. Holtorf, look, I actually support, there's an article in ABC News, on abcnews.com, the headline, doctors may fire parents who don't vaccinate their kids. They can't get into school. I honestly, if parents choose, now I've chosen to vaccinate my kids, but if parents choose not to do it, I think they ought to have the right to do it. You have a fear of autism, and because of the mercury associated with these vaccines, you're in. Go ahead.
Well, when you look at the studies, it's very difficult to do large-scale studies on autism, and what has been claimed is that there's not enough kids who are not vaccinated. And so studies have shown no association, but there haven't been really any good studies. And for instance, the hepatitis B vaccine, told it's safe, don't worry about it. Mothers who refuse it or don't want to do it are basically told they're going to call Child Protective Services. And again, a study just came out a couple weeks ago showing over 7,000 children that they looked at either got the hepatitis B vaccine or did not, a threefold increase in autism in male children who got the vaccine, the hepatitis B vaccine. So, I mean, all those mothers who were pressured to get the vaccine, now you're looking at, threefold increase, and they were told over and over it was safe. So that's what I'm saying is that, these studies were difficult to do. Now,
All right, because I'm running out of time. Dr. Murphy, you want to respond to that about?
Yes, sir. There have been very large-scale studies here in the U.S., in the UK, in France, in Northern Europe. There's large databases with information about which kids have been immunized and when they develop autism. Whenever we have questions, we can always try to answer them using our wits, or we can use science to actually look at data and see whether our thoughts are true or not. And this question has been asked many times, and the answer keeps coming back that vaccines do not cause autism.
All right, but guys, we're just out of time. I don't mean to cut you short here. I've got a hard break. Dr. Murphy, thank you. Dr. Holtorf, thank you. All right, folks, I'm trying to give you both sides of this debate so you can make the right decision for you and your family.